Tenorio and Alderwoman Grisham, who are excused. First order of business is approval of minutes of March 1st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been
Chairman,
moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Matters for discussion. Item 2, presentation and discussion of options to mitigate persistent structural deficit. Ms. Grill.
Yeah, Rebecca Grill, I'm the city administrator. We've talked over the past few years, and probably longer than I've been here, of the challenges for municipal finance and affording the services. And I just wanted to go over some of the remaining options that the city has to help mitigate the structural deficit without cutting services drastically. So I have 12 different options. Just because the items are on there does not mean that we're suggesting that you adopt them. It's just, we just want to bring it to your attention that these are the things that we could work with. Let's see. So as you know, there's an over-reliance on property taxes to pay for municipal government. Wisconsin is the 7th among states that's most reliant on property taxes. Most of the other states use sales taxes to fund their governments. And then we have the levy limits. There's been a lot of referendums in the years listed there. 31 municipalities have passed that. I believe there's been a lot more since 2017. And then the policy forum was reviewing police and fire budgets, and they've had to be reduced in those 2 years and in subsequent years. So just, we're not the only ones in this boat. You all know that. These are the challenges: the over-reliance on the property taxes, our taxpayer financial limitations. We have the streetlight conversion, facility repairs, maintenance, our aging infrastructure, maintaining our high-quality employees, and then the last two that are imposed on us by the state. You can see here, 65% of our general funded revenues come from property taxes. And then these are the expenditures by category. You can see the 4 different categories. The majority of them went down. Public safety went up, which is consistent with our past experience. I've gone over these challenges pretty often. We've had discussions about the street lights, our facility replacements, and things like that, and just talking about expenditure restraint and levy limits. So I didn't think I needed to spend a lot of time on that today, but if somebody who hasn't been aware of the challenges that we have, this will be posted on our website so they can view the videos and look at the information for the future. On the bottom, you can see our replacement cycle. Our water mains, 159-year replacement cycle we're on right now, and the roads are 70. See, these are some of the things that we've done in the past to mitigate our structural deficit. The health insurance changes, elimination of positions. We've been investing a lot in technology, and then we put together the structural deficit work group, and I'll go over that towards the end. There's still some ideas that haven't been reviewed by boards, committees, and commissions yet. So these are the 12 options I want to go through. Can continue to cut staff. We could cut programs, reduce pay benefits, start a transportation utility, do covered services fees, automated garbage collection, joint fire department, referendum, wheel tax, a FEMA SAPER grant, intergovernmental services, and then the structural deficit work group ideas. The first option is continue to cut positions. In 2022, you're familiar with what we had to do with the positions. We had to actually lay off 9 people last year to make our budget limitations. Since 2017, we went from 580 benefited positions down to 544. These are the departments just from 2017 to 2022, the reductions. There's some that have increased minimally, but you can see Public Works and the Water Department have taken the brunt of the cuts in the city. In the past 6 years, we had to cut an average of 6 positions per year, but we've done that, in my opinion, with minimal service impact to the public. Things such as adjusting our hours here, having the customer service center. There's some people that has an impact on, but it's minimal amount of people. This is cutting 6 positions a year is not sustainable unless there's a cut to a program that's not required by the state or federal government. And they also have a negative impact on retention of employees, especially newer employees. The second option would be cut programs. We are a full service city. Residents have high expectations for quality, timely service. Again, I think staff has done an outstanding job of helping out other departments, cross-training to minimize impact on service delivery. We have to realize, though, that not all of our staff are engaged in or supporting statutory services. So those would be the ones that you would have to look to. And just because I have these listed here doesn't mean these are the ones I'm suggesting that you limit, but I'm just providing some examples. The city of West Allis plows alleys. Other municipalities do not do that. We used to have dental services. We did recently. The person retired, so we're no longer doing that. The library does provide book delivery to people who are homebound. There's little things like that, but there's also some bigger things that are not statutory. So those are some examples. An alternative to cutting the programs is looking at delivering them in a different manner, either using different staff or community partners. And then there's more ideas about that in the structural deficit work group. Any questions on the cutting positions or programs? Okay. The next is the recommendation to cut or reduce pay and benefits. In some cases, our benefits still are a draw. They're probably more of a retention tool for the people that are here, especially when people become vested in the pension. Before 5 years, there's probably a higher chance of them leaving, but the vesting comes at 5 years. We have a lot of competition with the private sector, but a lot with the public sector. We seem to be stealing each other's employees all the time. As you know, we're going through the Great Resignation. In the state of Wisconsin, there's a 2.9% unemployment rate, which is lower than the average in the United States. I think it's 3.4. And then only 62.3% of the people either have a job or want a job. The average tenure for local government is 6.6 years. And the separation statistics we have for 2020 to 2021, you can see the type of separation. The most we've had are retirements, but resignations are up there pretty high. Public Works and Police are the departments that are bearing the most of those. And then the highest by position, the truck driver and the patrol officer and the dispatchers. So, any questions about reducing pay or benefits?
Yeah, I would like to, Mr. Chair, referring on employees that they reach over 65, it seems like a lot of them, they continue to carry on the city insurance, which does cost, the premium is a lot higher. So if they go with Medicare at 65, I'm talking about, and then get a supplemental insurance, I mean, I don't pay any money monthly, really, I don't. I mean, I pay the $120 some to Medicare, and that's it. Then, like I say, most of my prescriptions are covered, you know. If you go to the hospitals, I mean, you pay for the first 3 days, I think it's $280, you know, per day. Then after that, you don't pay nothing anymore. So, to me, I think it's very costly at the present time. I believe that the one they are 65, they still are insured within our city here.
We can't tell people or pay people to go on Medicare or Medicare
retire,
Advantage
I said
program.
that
But when they retire,
They reach the age of 65, whether they leave early, you know, they leave, say, the age of 57 or 58, that's fine, you know, I mean, I don't want to deprive them from that. But once you reach 65, why would you continue to keep them on the insurance, you know?
at this point, anyone that starts or anyone, I don't know what the year was, you don't have health insurance past age 65 when you retire.
You don't have it anymore?
No.
I mean,
For newer people, or I don't know, was 2008 or 2013, I'm not sure which year. But you have to work here at least 15 or 20 years, depending upon when you started. So we don't provide that post 65. The ones we do, we're required to because those are the contracts that they retired under.
Okay, good.
And we do have quite a substantial savings because we use the Medicare Advantage program.
Yeah,
We saved millions of dollars by moving.
I'm moving that, right?
Yes, specifically because of the drug spend.
Yes.
So,
Mr. President,
Alderman Weigel.
just real quickly, big picture. Is it still about 85% people, payroll, benefits? That's about,
it was 85 last year, or was it more, 86 or 87?
Yeah, so close to 90%.
is where we're spending our money. So if we're looking for where we're going to save money,
Yeah, people.
You look to see
Right.
where you're spending. And in this environment, I think the idea of trying to shave what we're paying in the individual is not sensible. Because we're going to have real turnover, we're going to have real retention issues, which means that we have to look at having fewer people to pay.
Right.
I think that's the hard choice that we're looking at here, unfortunately. We're also going online, we're modernizing, computerizing, but we're still in that spot where we have a lot of our residents, customers that aren't fully integrated with doing stuff online. So we have the expense of adding the efficiencies of automation, but we still have these legacy costs of still providing pen and paper services for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just wondering when we're expecting to be, will there be a day, someday it's like, yeah, you have to pay your water bill online? Or,
Well, for example, for the license renewals, we're making people do it online, but if they can't do it online, they can come in here and we can help them.
and I understand when we're talking about businesses, even, I would expect that even the smallest business owner, has a proficiency of using computers. I guess I can't, I'm trying to imagine somebody who doesn't.
Yeah.
Or at least couldn't have an employee do it or have some, so I'm glad to hear that. So, like I said, I think the hard fact is we have to look at the number of people who work for us.
Yeah. We have done a lot by having the customer service center here. We've cut, in the clerk's office alone, we've cut 2.5 people. So, we've been able to realize some savings already with
That's
the
just,
technology.
that's 2 jobs we saved this year.
Right.
But we're not going to
Each
save
year.
another 2
Yeah,
jobs next
exactly.
year,
It
right?
doesn't continue. So to your point of we can't cut pay and benefits, this page shows all the things that we've had to do to keep people in the last couple of years. And the labor market is crazy.
Well, and then
So-
the other thing is, and I've said this before, is that one of the things that working a municipal job offered was security. Most people knew, if I got a job with the city or the county or the state, I could get in and I could get a job. I'm going to be there 20, 30, 40, whatever the number of years is. But honestly, I don't see in today's employees, my 4 children, grown children, 25 to 30 years old, none of them expect to be working at the same place they're working at today, in 5 years.
Right.
If you ask them, no, Pop, I'm gonna be working somewhere else. And that's, so, one of the things that we offered is no longer valuable to the workforce. So
Correct.
we have to find another solution.
Right.
Mr. Chair, to that point, but you cut 5-6 people this year, and then 5-6 people next year, and then
5-6
you
people.
don't have a department.
Right?
Right.
So
Or
we
you
do
have
need-
one person
Yeah.
taking on a lot of work, getting burnt out really quickly, or even if it's 2 people. I mean, we can all think about jobs where you were just burnt out and miserable. So it's hard to keep.
We have to look
that
at the
work-
revenue side.
Yeah,
You know,
that
whether
work-life
it's
balance.
the levy limits, the state,
Right.
do we, are, you know.
We're going to get to more of the ideas, but if you want.
I just wanted to kind of paint
Yeah.
what I see as the big
Yeah.
picture.
These first three things, I don't believe, personally, I don't think we should entertain them at all, except maybe the program. But
Few programs.
yeah. The first option for alternative for revenues is a transportation utility fee. For the city of West Allis, this would not gain us a lot of capacity under the level. It would be, or under the levy, it would be a lot of staff savings, mailing out for all of the special assessments, letting people, having the hearings, having the complaints, doing the billing, things like that. Right now, we have one person that's involved in that, and, you know, if we would pursue this, that's a possibility that that position could be reassigned, or through attrition, we could eliminate the position. There also is some work, I believe, in finance or the treasurer's office dealing with special assessments. I'm looking at Jason. Yeah, in the treasurer's office. So they do a lot of work with that. Not that we could necessarily cut a position, but would open them up to do maybe some other financial work. It's a transportation utility fee is based on trips, and it's on the type of category your business is. So if you're like a manufacturer of something, you're going to have a much higher rate than a residence and things like that. So it's actually a real charge according to your use of the roads. And it also includes all property owners. So if we use it for more than special assessments, it's possible that we would have a loss of our transportation aids from the state of Wisconsin.
That's bad.
So
And how many cities in Wisconsin do this kind of thing?
it's becoming more popular. I didn't know, is it like 3 or 5 now, maybe?
Yeah, maybe a handful right now.
We're all grasping at straws now, so we have to take the opportunities here. So yeah, it is a newer thing. But I think it might be worthwhile as far as just saving some of the money and just saving the whole process time. But it will be something that you really would have to educate the public on. And I got a quote from R.A. Smith on they would help us implement this and start the trip calculation, how we would do that. The quote was, I think, $61,000 for them to help us do that. So the first year or two, we won't really be saving much. The option 5 is for covered service fees. So there's, let's see, 4 fees that you could, instead of paying for them through the tax levy, you could charge a fee for them. Usually these are collected on water bills, quarterly or
The city
monthly.
of Milwaukee, is that how they do it?
Right now, I believe part of our recycling is done through a fee, but not completely, and our garbage is not either. Then you could do a fire protection fee. We'll have a little more on that after I go through the rest of this. Snowplow fee and the street maintenance fee. So what happens if you implement these fees is you have to reduce your levy limit by the amount that the cost of service was in 2013. So that gives you some capacity between, because obviously things are a lot more expensive than they were in 2013. One of the benefits is that it's assessed to all properties instead of just, residential and commercial. It includes nonprofits. Other taxing entities like state fair, the school district, things like that. And any increases to the service going forward would be outside of the levy. And you would determine how we would calculate it. I think in the city of Milwaukee for their snow and ice fee, they calculate the residential as the frontage. And if you have a corner lot, it doesn't matter, they take the shortest. But for the commercial properties, you have to pay for all sides. So could do different calculations.
And for these options, we don't know the fees associated that we would have to charge to compensate at this time, right? This is more of, these are the options, should we explore?
Right,
this, that, or the
yeah.
other?
We would have to go through, likely the cost would go down overall. I mean, obviously the taxes would go down a little, but even if you combine the fee and the taxes, they'd still be less for the public. But yeah, we would have to definitely dig in a little bit further. And there's additional considerations for the fire protection fee that Cal is gonna go over.
So for all those fees, the garbage recycling fee, snowplow fee, street maintenance fee, there's actually authority in the state laws very clearly for those things. So this is a levy limit adjustment, and all those fees qualify for that levy limit adjustment, but you still need authority for how you implement the fee. The fire protection fee is a little unique in that we would actually be using a part of the city laws that say that cities can do anything a town can do, because there's no authority within the city laws saying that a fire protection fee is allowed, but there is authority within the town laws that says that, and it's well supported by recent case law. So there would be a little bit of a legal argument to be made in order to draw those together. I think it's a solid legal argument, and I think there would be, I think a court would find that the city can do this based on that law within Chapter 62. But it's not quite as clear as garbage, snow plowing, and other things where there's a clear section within Chapter 62 that says that.
But out of those four, that is probably the most attractive and easiest to explain to the public and the most beneficial over several years for the city.
Yeah, so just rough estimates based on lawyer math, so big caveat there, big caveat. But, so if the fire department costs $14 million and that's their budget for the year, that fire protection fee, if we would switch so that, let's say you're just deciding that based on your acreage that you own, you pay the same rate based on your acreage. Well, as we've heard from Pete in his excellent presentations, 28% of the city is non-taxed, which means that 72% of the city is actually paying taxes. So if you take that number and you extrapolate that out, that's a 33% decrease in taxpayer cost. And that money instead is paid by the entity that was not paying taxes. So to make the math especially easy, let's assume $15 million for the fire department. You switch to a fire protection fee, $5 million of that is paid by non-taxed entities. Only $10 million is paid by taxpayers. That's a huge decrease in the taxpayer bill.
But you could use different calculations.
It would have to be
whatever.
acreage. It could be.
It could be all kinds of ways. The city would be able to determine how that fee is attributed based on the law in Chapter 60. And like I said, I'm just throwing out rough numbers on this one. So it could be all kinds of financial impacts depending on that formula that the council would have.
Rebecca, just real quickly, other communities are doing garbage recycling fees, snow plowing, and street maintenance fees already. We already see this
Yeah.
in our neighboring communities and statewide.
Right.
And then the fire protection fee would be a completely new thing.
I believe there might be a couple
A couple little towns are
municipalities.
doing it.
It's actually fairly common among small towns.
Okay, oh, okay, okay.
The smallest towns, a lot of them do this actually.
What's a town we might have heard of that's doing it?
Well, the town I'll point to is the town of Horde in Clark County. So I point to it because that's
That was the one
It's a
case
court
law.
case.
that was the case law. So
How is Rochester, Wisconsin doing that? They got a volunteer fire department out there, so.
I don't know for sure. I believe actually the cities of Sheboygan and Hartford also impose some level of fire protection fee. So from what I've informally talking to other city attorneys around the state, it's not, we wouldn't be the first to try this. But I don't know to what extent they've done it for so long that I don't know if, they probably had it implemented before this case came out even. So I don't know if there would be any legal challenges to it. Frankly, I think legal challenge to it would be very difficult because the statutes line up pretty nicely.
And the garbage recycling fee, we wouldn't be picking up any nonprofits that aren't, we're not really providing that for nonprofits. But the snow plowing fee and the street maintenance fee, then we would be getting these non-taxed parcels chipping in, so there would be a benefit there.
Yeah.
But
I
the
don't know-
dollar amounts are so different that the
Yeah.
fire protection fee is really where we see a benefit.
And do you know
I'm not-
what was the 2013 levy for street maintenance or snow plowing?
I don't know that we are able to extrapolate those easily. I
Yes.
can,
So the benefit to the city would really come from increased levy capacity because the 2013 expense is what is capped. So if you collect more revenue than what you cost in 2013, that's what the benefit is for the city. To try to divvy out snow plowing or street maintenance, to get just that number and capture that expense from 2013 would be a financial challenge. I'm not sure how you do it, but the fire protection fee would be a pretty simple calculation because they have a separate budget.
yeah. I think the snow plowing might be somewhat easy because I think you do your payroll by snow events.
As long as there's enough historical data that we can go back to, because that's a lot of years now. that we're-
Yeah, to 2013.
Right.
Hopefully it didn't snow much in 2013.
You have a forensic accountant.
We have the, the snow account that we have,
Okay.
where we're charging raters, so that,
Okay, yeah, so that might be the other one, but as far as street maintenance and garbage and recycling, those are going to be a little more challenging.
And even if you have the coding for the employees doing snow plowing, it's not going to account for administrative costs or other things that are more just,
Right.
with the general operation of public works, whereas in the fire department, that cost is nicely boxed into a single item on the agenda, or on the budget.
The only thing, and I didn't talk to you about this, would be I don't know if there's a portion of the dispatch that you would allocate to them, to that too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we
at
could
least
do,
you're starting from one number and you're subtracting as opposed to trying to add, which is a
Yeah.
little tougher.
so. The fire protection is pretty appealing here. Then the automated garbage collection, if you're wanting us to go look more into this, I don't have exact numbers. I wasn't able to find anything for a city of our size. Some of the smaller municipalities estimated like $105,000 savings, but they're like 10 or 15,000 population, so it's not really apples to apples. But everyone says that there's increased efficiency and that you have salary savings. There's a reduction of injuries, so you have less workers' comp, less lost time, less insurance. There are some possible issues with alley collection. There are municipalities that do collect in alleys. There's an initial capital investment that is a little more expensive. Those vehicles are more expensive than a regular truck.
So they're not an addition to the truck, so like they're not an add-on?
I don't believe,
They're not an add-on to the truck? This would be a whole new vehicle?
it's
right?
approximately 350, 400,000. A normal refuse or a recycling packer is about 250,000. So,
And we can't retrofit our old trucks. The old trucks are rear,
Right.
not side.
And we couldn't plow with these either?
nope.
Yeah. So there's that investment, and then there's, from what I was reading, you have to have a specialized knowledge for repair and maintenance. So there's an unknown savings to this. There might be an initial higher cost to implement. Then the Joint Fire Department, you're familiar with this. It just provided the details that you're aware of. We're going to have when we go into closed session, we'll be talking a little bit more about the current opportunities for that. This one, the levy limit increase referendum, like I said, these are all the options. We're not recommending anything. If the voters approve of a exception or an increase to the levy limit, there's 3 types. It could be a 1 year, an ongoing, or for a set number of years. It has to be done with certain timing that's listed there. And I don't know why that bottom note is not correct, because that's changed. So there is a referendum option here. And then there's the annual vehicle registration fee, also known as a wheel tax. There's a lot of municipalities that have implemented that. The state doesn't say how much it has to be, or the limit. They just say you have to use it for transportation related purposes. So here, 32 cities and villages use it, ranges between $15 and $40. The city of Milwaukee has the $30, Milwaukee County has a $30, so if it would be implemented here, people are already paying the $30 for Milwaukee County. And right now we have a little over 32,000 vehicles registered in West Allis. So you could see the revenue that would be generated based on the amount per vehicle.
If I may, I think that make, Mr. Chair, a good sense, because in many parts of the world that I'm fully aware, there is cars that pay up to $300 for the license plates. So we're not doing too bad here if we raise it $30-40, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, that's a good way to go, you know.
This would also be an option to replace the time-intensive special assessment process. It also wouldn't really add a lot of staff time. The state collects it and they just pay us. A downside I already mentioned is the county already has a $30 wheel tax, and if we wanted to replace our special assessments, we'd have to do a $40 wheel tax. So, and then it is only assessed to vehicle owners. There's no impact for commercial properties and vehicles. So that's the difference between the transportation utility that's really focused on the people using the roads. This is just focused on people who own the vehicles.
So commercial vehicle, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I want to say, if I'm understanding that there's already 30 with the county, so if we did 40, it would be 70 additional dollars for West Allis residents.
Mm-hmm. So in the city of Milwaukee right now,
40
they pay
additional. It's
60.
30
Yeah.
already.
40
Yeah.
additional, so it would equate to next year, if
Yep.
we passed it today,
Right.
next year would be $70
Yes.
on top of the 125 or whatever it is.
I think it's actually 95.
90 something, yeah.
Yeah, because you
95.
have to pay the 30 already.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. So that's,
So you're telling me commercial vehicles do not get charged this? Currently, is that what that's saying?
it says commercial properties.
Okay.
I'm saying,
Commercial properties and vehicles.
right, there's certain limits. I think it was on the previous page, or it's the auto, cycle, automobile, and then trucks registered at 8,000 or less. Those are the ones that it applies to.
Okay, so like a semi-truck doesn't pay it, but they pay
separate
differently.
taxes.
Yes, they pay
Yes.
differently.
Yeah, but what if
But we don't get those.
What about
Not really.
people who have like box trucks and stuff for their businesses? Those should be taxed.
Well, is it over 8,000 pounds?
A box truck? Come on, it's over 8,000 pounds.
I'll just say, we didn't make this law, so
Yeah.
this is what they have in place at the state.
Can we do it?
Can you,
Can
for
we-
commercial
Can we
prep?
do that for commercial vehicles
No,
here?
this is what's allowed by state law, right?
This is what state law does, right?
No, this is what we're
This
allowed
is
to
what
do.
Wisconsin law allows.
Yeah, so the section 341.35 of the statutes, it specifically says the city can only impose it for automobile or motor truck at a gross weight of not more than 8,000 pounds. So you're not authorized to tax any vehicles other than those.
Really, the bigger the truck, big trucks get away with no wheel tax.
Yeah, the ones with the most
Not the
wheels.
local ones, no.
Yeah.
Because I know there's some business owners here that have big pickup trucks that have their names on the side, and you're telling me they don't get taxed for that?
Well, not for their, not
Not a
for their
local wheel tax.
So yeah, like a 1-ton Ford or Chevy, a lot of them can exceed 8,000 pounds.
Okay.
The next option is a FEMA Safer Grant. Mason had shared this with me last week. This supports hiring new or rehiring laid off or retaining firefighters facing layoff. There's no cost share or maintenance of effort for this. There's no maximum award. The caveat is that it lasts for 36 months, so there would not be able to be any staffing changes. You'd have to maintain the same level within the fire department for 36 months.
So if there's any staffing changes, we have to give all the money back?
I don't know
Or is
what
it
the,
prorated?
I've looked into that detail.
yeah, I'm not sure how, I'm sure there's some penalty. I don't know what it is.
And the other part of it is once the grant ends, you still have this person, who you
Right.
have to pay for now.
It's like the
Money
cops
for it.
grants,
Yeah.
yeah. So then there's always intergovernmental service opportunities. We could do more cost-effective and efficient service with other levels of government through contracts, joint organizations, agreements. You have to be concerned about how that's going to be calculated for a long term, what kind of capital people are bringing, and how you're going to dissolve if you need to walk away from it at some point. I listed some opportunities that we might have with Milwaukee County or other municipalities or the school district. I'm sure there's other things besides that, but just listed some different opportunities. So,
Are we allowed to tax the county for the parks being in our city?
well, if you would do something with the fees,
Yeah, we could.
they would be one of the
Fire fee, we could. Fire fee, you could. We wait long enough, county might just.
the Milwaukee Mile.
Real estate.
You didn't hear me.
I heard you. Get MM.
Okay, now this is really little wording, but these are the structural deficit work group ideas. I'm really not going to go that much into detail because we have some other things we need to talk about, but I'll send all of you the presentation. I forget, was it 2 or 3 years ago already we had this work group. We've had over 200 ideas. A lot of them we've implemented or we're implementing, or we found that they weren't necessarily going to work. These are the remaining ones. Many of them have to do with, it's the reason they're left over is because I was supposed to put them together and send them like to the library board or the PFC or your different standing committees, and I didn't. So they're the other ones were a lot easier to implement. These are policy choices, and could potentially be controversial in some cases. So there's 5 different categories. There's a revenue cost recovery category, and then infrastructure, that's like sharing buildings like we've been talking about, or moving different departments to different places. The staffing changes, that's probably more of the controversial things. Reduction or reallocation of positions or responsibilities. There's a lot of those. And then operational is probably another more controversial list of things. So I'll, like I said, I'll send these to you and you could read them at your leisure. But I will also be sending them to the committees and commissions for their review. Oh, and then the last one was the collaboration with external organizations. That's somewhat of a duplicate of the intergovernmental idea. So,
Any questions? Sure, lots of them. More than we can discuss this evening. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, you know,
Alderman
if I may,
Vitale.
Mr. Chair. You know, I will say that it's a first meeting regarding all these updates and information. To me, it really makes sense, you know, to at least storm ideas for all of us to digest what could happen in the future, not just tomorrow, you know, in the future. To me, it's a very logical move, really. You cannot just sit staying it, not doing anything, you know?
No.
So that's what I have.
Mr. Chair. At some point, we probably want some input into what we should focus our energies on. This is, while it's future, it's also for 2023. We need to
Right.
get started working on that. We don't have any rabbits to pull out of our hats. These are the things that we need to look into.
Well, I think, yeah, as you look into some of these and as the council members speak with you and share ideas, maybe we can get some more financial information as to what the actual financial impacts would be of some of the more popular
Yeah.
ideas here and hone in on one or two of them.
Yeah, most effective.
Yeah. Was waiting to prioritize it because to do it for
Right.
all of them, it would be quite a challenge.
exactly.
So if people are going to contact me, that'd be great.
Okay, then moving on, items 3, 4, and 5 will be in executive session. Item 3 is discussion of the creation of a joint fire department option under Wisconsin statute 62.13, parent 2M, parent A. Item 4 is deliberating the repair replacement of a public works facility currently located at 6300 West McGeo Avenue. And item 5 is discussion regarding status of lease between the city and Aurora West Dallas Medical Center. For these agenda items, the committee of whole may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the investing of public funds or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The committee of the whole may reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion to go into closed
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Alderman Haas.
Aye.
Alderman Spassky. Alderman Weigel. Alderman
Aye.
Rowe. Alderman Vitale. Alderwoman Reinke.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keane.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We are now going into closed session.